Hey guys, my name's Nimue and welcome to my channel. So, I've got a theory for you guys, and it's about a pretty damn popular movie, and I honestly wish I hadn't thought of this theory because that movie is so overdone. In honesty, I think that me adding a theory to its multitude of movie theories is asinine, but I ended up thinking about this and it stuck, so here we are. And that theory is how Elsa got her powers. Yeah, that's right. It's another theory about friggin' Frozen. Frozen is so overdone at this point, I legitimately rolled my eyes at myself for even starting to think about Frozen yet again. But when this thought occurred to me, the idea just kind of stuck, and I kept thinking about it for days, honestly. And finally, I actually sat down and started doing some research, and I ended up finding a Tumblr post that was really similar to what I was thinking, but it still lacked some gravitas. The Tumblr post theory reads as follows. I have a theory that Arendelle, Anna and Elsa's kingdom in Frozen, attacked Donbrook, the kingdom in Merida's movie, at some point in time. Queen Eleanor has a streak in her hair, kind of like Anna did. At one point during the movie, Queen Eleanor says that their kingdom was attacked from across the sea, and that's how all four clans came together. Assuming that, as most people believe, Frozen took place in Norway and Brave took place in Scotland, looking on a world map shows Norway being across the sea from Scotland. Maybe there's more to it, I haven't looked any further, but like I said, a theory. Run with it, fellow Disney fans. Now, the whole streak in Queen Eleanor's hair thing, nah, I just think that's the graying hair of an aging woman with 4 insane children and a crazy husband. But the quote is still there, and it is another matter. As Queen Eleanor said, the 4 clans were attacked by a kingdom from across the sea, causing the 4 clans to join and make peace with each other. And a side note, I'm pretty sure this is completely canon, but a piece of information that I noticed while watching this was that when the story of the 4 brothers was told, that it mentions that when the kingdom became divided, it was of course split into 4. But I theorized that when Mordu became a bear and all of that mess happened, that he probably had a wife and even children, and even though he's a bear now, his wife is still a queen and his children were still princes/princesses. I kind of theorized / I'm pretty sure it's canon that the 4 brothers were the patriarchs of the 4 clans, and Mordu was in fact Merida's ancestor. Anyways, as the map in the above picture shows, Norway, aka Arendelle, is right across the sea from Scotland. Anyways, Frozen takes place in Arendelle, Norway, in about the 1870s. This guess was made due to clothing style, the architecture, references, the timely connection to Tangled, because that's 99% canon already, and that film's clothing style, the architecture, references, among other things. Brave, however, takes place in Scotland during the 10th century. That date and setting is 100% canon, so no guesswork is needed there. If I wanted to guess the decade, then it definitely takes some educated guesswork, but for the sake of this theory, just knowing the century is good enough. So, at the time Brave would have been taking place, Frozen's Arendelle would have been in their Viking age, because during the 10th century, in our universe, Norway was at the tail end of its Viking age, but many regions were converting to Christianity by that point, actually. Anyways, so here's the theory I came up with. 800 to 900 years before the events of Frozen, an Arendellian king waged war against the divided Scottish kingdom. The father of King Fergus Donbrook of Brave fought valiantly, as well as the other clan leaders, Lord MacGuffin, Lord Macintosh, and Lord Dingwall, but they stood apart, each clan fighting alone against an immense adversary. So, in a last effort to fight off this enemy, King Fergus's father met with the other clan leaders, and they formed their alliance. The clans fought bravely, and pushed back the Arendellian army. But the King of Arendelle was not one to admit defeat. He knew of magic's existence. He had seen trolls when he was a child, and knew of their magic. And so, he sought out magic in this unfamiliar kingdom. He found the lore of the Will-O-Wisp. and hoping it would lead him to what he sought, he followed their direction, and at the end of their trail, much like Merida, he found the witch and his family's fate. He attempted to bribe the witch, but by that point she had already made the mistake once of taking a bribe from a king, and she would not make that mistake again. And besides, this was her home as much as it was the four clans' home. Why would she turn against it? This angered the Arundelian king, and in his anger he threatened her life for daring to defy the monarch. So the witch gave in, but as with all her magic, it came with a backlash. And between you and her, this was more of a curse than anything else. She cast her spell. The spell, in actuality, could have been a real edge for the king, if he could have controlled it. She cursed him with magic that reflected his frozen heart. All the power of ice, frost, and snow coursed through his veins, and with every burst of anger or fear, the power only grew more out of control. The king avoided the battleground for the rest of the war, for fear of destroying his own army, and without their king to lead them, and without his presence for even morale, the army of Arundel was defeated and pushed back to its frozen native shores, leaving the Scottish clans to their peace and alliance. Back in his kingdom, the king's new powers only grew, and with every second he endangered his wife and his people. He tried finding the trolls again, but it has been decades since he accidentally found them as a child. With no hope of finding them, he had the dungeon built, and the chains made to keep his hands contained and his people safe. His wife kept searching, though, until finally she found the home of the rock trolls. She begged them to help her king, to save her people from his magic, and to save the king from himself. The Troll King made his attempt, and using all the magic he had, he tried to remove the magic from the king, but to no avail. The magic remained. But the Troll King offered a solace. The magic could not be removed, but it could be controlled. The king spent many months with the Troll King after that. Learning to control these new gifts proved difficult, but possible. At the end of his time there, the troll told the king another fact that would affect the royal line from that time on. The magic was in his blood. It was a part of him, and if the royal line was to continue, unfortunately the magic would have to be passed down as well. There was no escaping it. But the trolls agreed that they and their descendants would be there to guide the future generations of magic. The king and the queen were distraught for a time, but soon grew to accept the idea that their children and descendants after that would inherit the magic that cursed the king. And soon a child was born. Maybe the child was born with magic, maybe not. But the magic remained in their blood. After that, the magic was common at first, but as the line became diluted, so did the powers. By the time it reached Anna and Elsa's mother, it had become so uncommon that the trolls hadn't been approached in some time. It had been many generations. The royal family always kept the map that the first queen drew up as a way to find the trolls, should their assistance ever be needed again. And when Elsa was born, and her gifts became more evident, contacting the trolls seemed inevitable. But young Elsa had excellent control over her powers, so it seemed that visiting the trolls wasn't needed. Until the accident. The visit to the trolls, then, was obviously more for Anna than it was for Elsa, but that visit left Anna with a wiped memory and left Elsa traumatized. She became scared of her powers, and what it could do to the people around her, and what the people around her could do to her. She grew up terrified of herself, and with her fear, her powers only grew more and more out of control, until it all came to a head in Frozen. Magic runs deep with Elsa and Anna's bloodline, and it is all because of a curse that was placed on an arrogant and angry king by a witch with a point to prove and a home to protect. This is a story and a curse that span over nearly 900 years. Fascinating, huh? Again, I'm a little annoyed with myself for thinking about Frozen yet again and adding a new theory to the hundreds of theories we have about Frozen. But man, am I happy about myself for this one. I know it took some speculation on my part and everything, but I kind of put all the pieces together. So, what do you think? Like, share, leave a comment, and let me know. Thanks for watching. Bye!